And welcome back, everybody, to this live stream. This time we are here for the qualifying session ahead of the Azerbaijan Grand Prix after coming off the practice session. I'm once again JW97, and yet again I'm joined by my arch nemesis Ra.
Hello.
Oh, we've just come off a practice session which saw, as expected, the two Mercedes top the session with Lopez ahead of car and then Jake Galloway making it in third position. In fact, it was third and fourth for the two Renault drivers in the practice session, definitely taking advantage of their ultra drag setup car. Whether that will play into an influence during this qualifying session, we will have to wait and see. But for the moment, Yuri has just gone to get something. He'll be back in just a little bit, and then you'll see the weather. But yeah, what are you potentially expecting in this qualifying session, Ra? Do you expect maybe a surprise to happen, or do you think we'll see Mercedes once again take pole position?
Maybe some usual teams getting eliminated, like the Manos, maybe even the Alfa Males and the Hasses. I think one Williams could actually get into Q2, maybe even one Alfa Romeo. That could be something, but let's see how it goes.
We're here for the qualifying. As you can see, we've got no rain for the entirety of qualifying, so we have a dry session. So we're going to get underway for Q1. Now, whilst we're waiting, guys, give your prediction on who you think will be eliminated in Q1. And whilst we wait, because we know that this loading screen is usually quite a lengthy one for Baku, I'm going to ask you, Ra, who do you think will get eliminated in Q1?
I think both Manos, both Hasses, an Alfa Romeo, and a Williams.
Okay, I'm going to say both Manners. I'm going to say both Hassers. I'm going to say, you know what? I'm going to play ballsy. I'm going to say both Alfa Romeos. I think both Williamses can actually make it through into Q2. So that's what I think. Both Manners, both Hassers, both Alphas. Romeos, that is, not Alpha Tauris. Alfa Romeos. Just want to get that clear. I know there's two Alpha teams now. So yeah, of course, guys, this is a lengthy loading screen because Baku, because of the textures, it does mean that the loading screen does take a while, but it will load eventually, guys. Don't worry about it. The game is not crashed. I can assure you of that. After my many experiences with this track, I can tell you for a fact that this is usually the longest loading screen that we have on Grand Prix 4. But here we are now, then, on the garage, and as you can see, we're now in the garage, waiting to go, and we'll wait and see who'll be the first on the racetrack. Fonchanek Keoshani has said both Manners, both Haas, and Alpha, and a Williams. That's his prediction. And we'll have to wait and see, of course. That's the only prediction we've got in the stream chat. And the first car on the racetrack is going to be Roland Motrin in the Racing Point. So it's going to be a Racing Point that'll be first on track in this 18-minute Q1 session. And out on the racetrack will go the Hungarian. Out on the racetrack he goes as now Motrin makes his way through turn 2 there, as he'll now make his way down the straight before approaching turns 3 and 4 very, very soon. And also on the track now then we have Laura Chung along with we have Daniel Fraser. Rosetta Martinez has also gone out onto the racetrack, as has Franco Gamba. So a few cars now then just making their way out on the racetrack, and they'll be hoping there's no traffic. I think for Roland I don't think he will get any traffic due to the length of this track, but well, you never know, of course. Anything can happen, but I hardly doubt it, of course. All 22 cars will go out on the racetrack, and then usually when the second runs happen, usually one gets left behind. So sometimes I think at times, maybe this track, you could get some advantage from some slipstream around here, particularly on the straight, Ra.
Yeah, indeed. The long straight would be beneficial, and also you may see some overtakes there as well.
Potentially so, potentially so. As Roland Motrin now then makes his way towards the left-hander now then, using a tad bit of curb on the inside before approaching the final turn. Well, the final proper turn, I should say, before going around these flat-out corners. All 22 cars are now out on the track, as you can see from the mini-map that's on the top right of your screen. Dennis has put a prediction. Both Manners, both Alfa Romeos, a Haas and a Williams, so that's his prediction. But anyway, Roland Motrin about to start his first flying lap of Q1 now then, and once he gets down this very long straight. I think this is the longest straight on the calendar, it's fair to say, as Roland Motrin now then starts his lap as he'll now make his way towards the first corner now then. Going down a few gears to get around the first turn there. A bit curved on the exit, but pretty much near 90 degree. This is a 90 degree corner though. Turn 2, flicking the car in, using as much curb on the outside as possible without getting too close to the wall. Now heading down this second long straight before approaching turn 3. This could also be an overtaking opportunity, depending on if you get onto the inside of the driver you're trying to overtake. It's not really advisory to try and go around the outside, as we've seen plenty of times in both GP2 and the top class, and even when Formula E came here all those seasons ago. As Motrin now then comes up towards the end of Sector 1 very, very soon. Through turns 5 and 6 he goes. Let's see what his first sector is like as he comes up towards the end of the first sector, which is down here. Heading towards the double right under 43.011 for Roland now then, as he'll now make his way towards the castle section, the infamous castle section on this racetrack. Only one person from memory has crashed at the castle section by a driver error over the seasons. I think that was Rick Yan, of course. Of course, we've had the crashes on the exit of the castle section, but I don't really count those. Heading towards the end of Sector 2, which will be just after this corner, and heading towards this downhill bit. Let's see what Roland's second sector is like. It is a 1 minute 12.428, and now it's just a flat-out run down this final sector now then, as now heading towards the final 2 turns will come the Hungarian of Roland Motrin. He'll be the one setting a benchmark of time for everybody to beat, as now Motrin makes his way down the pit straight, as he will now come across the line very, very soon. As Roland Motrin now then across the line, he will go very, very soon down this long straight, and look for the line, and there it is. It's a 1:36.523 for Roland Motrin. So that's a benchmark of time. Here comes Laura Chung going down the straight herself. She'll soon be finishing off her lap. Where's she going to place the Ferrari? Across the line she will go, and she places herself into second, of course, behind Roland Motrin, 8 tenths down. Daniel Fraser across the line, he will go, goes into third position. Then Rosetta Martinez takes third. Franco Gama goes into second place, as Joseph Wallows goes into fourth in the McLaren there. Andrea Videri goes into fifth. Chris Chatfield across the line slots into fourth, gets in front of Willows at that point in time. Here comes Dudu Kirby making his way down the pit straight in the Haas. Across the line will go the 2019 GP2 champion and 2017 BTCT champion for that fact. He's got somebody trying to overtake, and that was De Rosa, as Kirby went 9th, De Rosa went 7th. Gomez across the line goes into 8th position. Felix Sontag now goes into 8th. Roberto Gamba crosses the line, slots into second, 3 tenths off of Roland Motrin. Jake Galloway across the line, only P3 for him, not quite showing the performance he showed in practice. Franco Lopez crosses the line, only P3 for him at the moment, behind Roberto Gamba, which is surprisingly. Mikolas Gal goes fastest by 2 tenths of a second. Evan Byrne, only P11 for him that time by. George Rote slots into 5th, P10 for David Kupok, as Almar Carr now goes fastest by nearly 2 tenths. So Carr to the top of the timing sheets, as Jamie Griffiths now then comes across the line in the Williams, and he slots into 16th. Amelia Wilson is now going to cross the line, and she slots into 20th. So after those first runs, it is Almar Carr at the top of the timing sheets, with Mikolas Gal in second and Roland Motrin in third position. But so far, very good first lap for Roberto Gamba.
Yeah, indeed, P4 for him. Really good lap for him. He's only 7 tenths off Car, but it can all change. Obviously. Yeah, Byrne and De Rosa didn't have a great lap, 14th and 15th for them. And yeah, and the hazard at the back of the grid, not great for them.
Yeah, indeed. So far, the Haas is currently occupying the back row, with Kirby currently having the pace over Fraser at this point in time. But still plenty of time to go. They can easily still improve, as Roland Motrin, who was the first to go out on the track on that run, is coming back in. Could still be the first out on track for the next run, but it kind of all depends on whether the team decide to leave him in the garage or not, because we know that usually on the second runs, one AI driver usually gets left behind on the second run. So we'll have to wait and see who that one is. Of course, it is a very long lap, so you do at times have to gamble at times if you're going to get left behind during a session. As Motrin now gets wheeled back into the garage. So a few more cars now make their way into the pits, including a Haas and a Manor. As Martinez now then pulls into his box, and he'll get towed back into the garage, so to speak, or wheeled back into the garage, I should say. And so now Martinez wheeled back in, and he'll be getting ready for his second flying lap very, very soon. And we'll have to wait and see if he can improve on that 19th position. So far, 19th and 20th for the two Manors at the moment. It's currently outpacing the two Hasses at this point in time, as mentioned a little bit earlier on. But we're going to wait and see who's going to be the first to get out onto the racetrack very, very soon for the second run of Q1. So we look at Sontag, who's waiting to get wheeled back into his garage in the Williams. Currently 17th, just outside the drop zone. His teammate Griffiths currently in that top 16 threshold at the moment. Not the best first lap for Kirishima De Rosa, although we do have to remind you he was stuck in traffic. He was actually stuck behind... who was he behind? He was stuck behind someone. It was Gabriel Gomez. He was stuck behind his DTM rival, oddly enough, as Wilson It's back into her garage as now Motrin does go out on track first, as expected a little bit earlier on for the second run of Q1. Who's going to get left behind? That's going to be another question, as Motrin now then heads out onto the racetrack now then. As now Motrin makes his way through into turn 2 now then, using a bit of curb on the outside, as the chat seems a little bit quiet so far in the stream chat. Do say hello, don't be shy. As Motrin now then makes his way through into turn 3 now then. And so far joined on the track now by Chris Chatfield. He's the second driver out on the racetrack, as you can see from the timing tower on the left-hand side. Now Videri has gone out on track as well. And of course, we're staying outboard for the second laps like we usually do in qualifying. It's the same with all the other 2 sessions that are coming up a little bit later on for Q2 and Q3. As Motrin just gets the car around the double right-hander before heading his way into the infamous castle section. The hill he goes before making his way through the right and left-hander. And using a tad bit of curb on the outside there then, as he'll now make his way towards the double left-hander. And now making his way towards the double left-hander himself. Now he'll make his way down towards the final corner. The left-hander then goes Motrin, as now he'll make his way towards the final 2 corners. And so now flicking it in through the left, then into the right. Now making the way down the straight. As now Motrin now then is going to cross the line to start his second flying lap. There are still some cars in the pit lane, so Roland will be hoping there's no traffic on the exit there as he makes his way down towards turn 1. Is there any traffic there? And looks like no. So Roland should be able to get a clean lap under his belt and see if he can try and get a little bit closer to his compatriot Gal on this lap. We will see. Just keep an eye on his def panel on the top right, of course, when we get to the end of sector 1, which is just before the double right-hander before they head into the castle section. Motrin now making his way down towards turn 3. And now into turn 4 now then we'll go the Hungarian, flicking it in through the right-hander, using a tad bit of curb on the outside before making his way towards the left and right-hander, as Roland there making a tad bit of a mistake there into turns 5 and 6. Of course, we do have the quali mistake rate on for this session, so something to point out in mind there. But you just saw there Motrin maybe pushing that tad bit too hard and getting a little bit out of shape through into turns 5 and 6, as you just saw on the replay, and that's cost him not that much, 500 off on his personal best in the first sector. But will that affect him in the final 2 sectors? That's going to be a question. He can still kind of recover that if he's able to put the hammer down, but we'll have to wait and see, of course, as he now comes out of the castle section, now into the double left-hander now then. First left-hander he's passed, now through the second left-hander, which is just a tiny little amount of steering input needed for that, a tiny little bit more than what you would on that first left-hander. Let's see what his second sector is like, and he's gaining it back in the second sector, so given the power that he's got in that Mercedes engine, he can still gain it back in that last sector, so Roland can still improve on this lap. We'll have to wait and see though, as he makes his way out of the right-hander now in towards this last little kink, which I think is classed as the final turn. Making his way down the pit straight goes Roland Motrin. Can he improve on his lap? And if so, by how much? I don't think he's going to get second, but let's see anyway. Roland Motrin across the line, he will go in the racing point, and he still gained time, but still not enough to improve, so he remains in third position. Chris Chatfield, meanwhile, is improving, and he's getting some nice bit of slipstream from that Manor in front. Whether it held him up in the previous corners, I'm not sure, but Chatfield crosses the line and goes up to 4th. That healthy bit of slipstream definitely helping him out. So up into P4 there goes Chris Chatfield, as we now look at Andrea Videri, meanwhile, who's up on his personal best in the meantime. Videri, across the line, he goes in the Alfa Romeo, and he goes up into 11th. A big improvement there. Fraser, also an improvement. Can he get off the back row? No, he can't, but he does get in front of Kirby, so he gets up in 21st. Lopez up on his personal best. Can he go quicker than Amar Khan across the line? No, he can't. He goes into second, though. He gets ahead of Galdo, so it is a Mercedes 1-2. 23,000 separate the 2 Mercedes at this point. Joseph Willows, meanwhile, is up on his personal best, currently in 13th. Can he get himself into the top 10? The McLaren crosses the line, and yes, he can. He goes up into 8th position. Felix Sontag on an improvement, and he goes up to 13th. He gets himself into the top 16 threshold. Martinez, meanwhile, goes 17th. Kupot goes into 11th, meanwhile, as Franco Gamba goes into 5th. Galloway wasn't able to improve. I wonder if that had something to do with Franco Gamba. Roberto Gamba doesn't improve, nor does Gao. Gao remains in 3rd. Laura Chung doesn't improve, remains where she is at the moment, which is P12. Roke goes up into 5th position. Gabriel Gomez, across the line he goes up into 15th. Byrne getting very close to the drop zone. De Rosa, who is in the drop zone, crosses the line, gets up into 5th, so he gets himself in the safe zone now, so a big improvement there for Kirishima DeRosa. Carr, meanwhile, is not on an improvement. Currently on a 1 minute 36.054. Across the line he will go, and he remains on that lap time. Dudu Kirby is up on his personal best. Can he get back in front of Fraser and maybe get himself into the top 16? Kirby crosses the line, and he goes up to 14th. A big improvement there from the reigning GP2 champion. As we now look at Wilson, who's not up on her personal best. She's currently on the back row, and so far doesn't look like she's improving at this point in time. And hello to everybody who's just joined. Wilson now then comes across the line. She's currently in 21st, and she remains in 21st at the moment. Evan Burney's up on his personal best. He's currently in the drop zone, so he does need to improve. Across the line goes the Irishman, but only up into 14th. He gets himself into the safe zone, but not by a lot. So a bit of a surprise there for Evan Byrne to only be up in 14th. But that's the second run's done with. Its car still at the top, this time from Lopez in second and Gal in third. But yeah, a lot of big improvements on that lap, Ra.
Yeah, indeed. So good improvement by Kirby to move himself up to 15th. They're in 16th. Yeah, Byrne only in 14th. Not the best sessions at the moment for him. Same with Galloway in the 11th, but it's to be expected. Anything can change.
Yeah, indeed, as Fraser is currently down in last position, as he's just said in the stream chat there, he's desperate for some slipstream. And so that's that really, as Fraser... We're hoping to try and see if he can get up to where his teammate is, which is 15th position, because it's clear that it can be done in that Haas car. It just needs a little bit of patience and some luck. Maybe some slipstream, as Fraser just said. In the stream chat there is Felix Sontag is currently in the drop zone. He did get himself out briefly, but now he and his teammate find himself in the drop zone. So both Williams is 17th and 20th at the moment in this session. Martinez and Gomez separating the two Williams is at this point. Martinez currently up in 19th, so far doing a good job is Martinez in this session. And getting up in 19th. And I wonder if these next laps that we're going to see are probably going to be the final laps of this session because of how much time there is left on the clock and due to the length of the track, of course. We will wait and see, but I think these next laps that are going to be coming up will be the final laps of Q1 before we get into Q2. And so far in the drop zone, we have Felix Sontag, Gabriel Gomez, Rosetta Martinez, Jamie Griffiths, Amelia Wilson, and Daniel Fraser. As the clock continues to tick down, as Byrne is just the only one left on the track. He's have to come into the pits, but he's just approaching the pit lane entrance now. So he is now in the pits. So now Motrin again, the first on the track. Will anybody else join him? That is the question. I think a majority will, but how many of them will be able to get one more flying lap in before Q1 comes to a close? Let's see. So Motrin now then out on the racetrack now then, currently in 4th position, and probably could have been on an improvement last time out had he not made that mistake at turns 5 and 6, which lost him a little bit of time and only just missed out on improving on his first lap. So Chatfield has also come out onto the racetrack, as is Sontag, so he's possibly got one more chance left to get himself into Q2. As Motrin now then through the right-hander he goes, as he will now approach the next section of corners on the racetrack. Hello Jamie, who's just joined us in the chat. Currently, yeah, you are currently P20 in the moment, Jamie, so not quite ideal at this point in time. As Motrin now then makes his way towards double right-hander, using a tad bit of curb on the inside there. Roke is out on track, Chatfield out on track, Willow's out on track, Videri out on track, Sontag out on track, Gomez out on track, Griffiths out on track, Fraser out on track, and I'm pretty sure there'll be a few others as well. I wonder if who's going to get left behind. Martinez and Wilson will be hoping it's not them that gets left behind, but we will wait and see, of course. As Martinez is out on track, will Wilson get left behind, or will she go out? Because we know that usually one AI gets left behind during these runs. Motrin will be hoping, like last time, that there's no traffic when he starts his next flying lap now then. And so coming around these section of corners now then we go. The final 2 turns for Roland Motrin. And still the pit symbol is next to Amelia Wilson's name at this point in time. As Motrin now then makes his way down the pit straight now then. And those 5 cars are still in the pit lane as we speak. Motrin about to start his next lap. I tell you that, somebody's just gone out. Wilson's still in the pit lane. As Motrin now then makes his way down towards turn 1 now then. Flicking the car in for the first turn. And there's a car on the exit there. Not sure who, but Roland Motrin luckily doesn't get held up by whoever that was. That was Dudu Kirby that just went out on the racetrack there. So he'll have enough for just one more lap. Wilson's still in the garage at the moment. And hoping that it's not her that gets left behind. Otherwise she will be out in at Q1. As Motrin makes his way through into turn 3 there. Before making his way towards turn 4. And turns 5 and 6 will soon be coming. And As 2 cars left in the pit lane, Wilson's still in there, and it is Wilson that is getting left behind. So I'm afraid for Amelia Wilson, she is out in Q1, so she'll be starting on the back row of the grid now then. So she was the only one left behind in that excursion. So that's a shame for her. So Amelia Wilson is out in Q1, so only 5 spots left to determine who's not going to make it into Q2. So we just saw there Motrin not up on his personal best in the first sector. In fact, he's a little bit off his personal best, it's fair to say, and way off his overall, because when you look at the gap between him and Carr, he's 4 tenths, and that was 5 tenths in the first sector. So not a very good first sector there for Roland Motrin. Heading down the hill now, then we'll go the Hungarian, but I think he's safe anyway. I don't think he really needs to improve, and yeah, I think he's probably just gathering mileage now in at the racing point. So now making his way now then towards the final 2 turns, the left and then through the right. Motrin now then making his way down the pit straight now then, and Roland Motrin will soon be crossing the line to finish off his final lap of Q1. Down the pit straight then goes Roland Motrin, and across the line he will now go. Motrin across the line goes the Hungarian. Can he improve? No, he can't. Remains in 4th. Daniel Fraser is on improvement. Can he get himself into the top 16? And no, he can't. He gets himself into 21st. So Fraser is out. Chatfield is not on an improvement, but I think he's safe anyway. He's up in 8th position, and Chatfield doesn't improve. Felix Sontag crosses the line, and he goes up to 16th. He found some time in the last sector, so he gets himself into the top 16 threshold. His teammate, meanwhile, is down in the middle sector, but so was Sontag. So I don't know if Jamie Griffiths is having similar luck to what Sontag is having at the moment, but so far Sontag has pushed Videri down into the bottom 6. Griffiths, across the line he will go, and he doesn't improve, he remains in 20th, so Griffiths is out. Willows doesn't improve. Roke, meanwhile, goes up to 4th, an improvement for him there. Videri, this is his last chance. Can he get back himself into the top 16? No, he can't. Videri is out. He remains in 17th position. Gabriel Gomez crosses the line. He's also out. So both Alfa Romeos are out in Q1. Gomez remains in 18th position as Garber is being overtaken, in fact, by one of the Red Bulls, and neither one of them able to improve. Both Garbers, that is, so both of them holding each other up. Cupot crosses the line, goes up into 10th, an improvement for him. Galloway crosses the line, he goes up to 11th, so an improvement there. Not ideal for him. In fact, not an ideal session for Renault, it's fair to say. As Martinez improves, but remains in 19th, so Martinez is out in Q1. Here comes Amar Carr. Cross the line, he will now go. He doesn't improve, remains on 1 minute 36.054. Gal, meanwhile, he's up in 3rd position, remains in 3rd for the moment. As De Rosa is currently up on his personal best, and I think all Q1 guys have been determined. So I think the bottom 6 are all out. Videri finished a lap, Gomez finished a lap, Martinez finished a lap, Griffiths finished a lap, Fraser finished a lap, and Wilson not out on track. So yeah, the bottom 6 have been secured. The bottom 6 are officially out in Q1 as De Rosa goes up to 5th. A big improvement for him there. Indeed, as we now look at Dudu Kirby, meanwhile, in the Haas, who has made it through into Q2. So big ups to Dudu Kirby for getting the Haas into Q2. As Kirby now then crosses the line. I don't think he's going to improve, but it's not going to matter because he is through into Q2. And Kirby did not improve that time by. As we now look at Laura Chung, who's on a lap. And Laura Chung in 13th position. Doesn't look like she's on improvement, but she's had to advance into Q2 anyway, so it's not going to matter too much for Laura Chung. As now Chung now then makes her way down at the pit straight now then, and Laura Chung is going to cross the line unless she performs miracle in the last sector. I don't think she's going to improve, and no, she's not. She remains in 30th position. Bern on the lap, he's not on an improvement, crosses the line and remains in 14th position. Not an ideal first session there for the Renaults, as there's a bit of a lock-up going on there between Roke and Willows, I believe that was, so a little bit of drama going on in the pit entrance, but that is Q1 done and dusted with, and I think it might be similar to what we saw in GP2 with both Chobot and Kulazek. Let's have a look. So Roke was trying to get into the pits, and yep, there was a tad bit of contact there, but Roke barging his way through, so to speak. So it was kind of similar to what we saw in GP2 with Kulazek and Chobot a little bit earlier on, but that's that really. And give me a moment.
Yep, that's qualifying over with. Top of the session. Session for Q1. And the bottom 6, we have Videri, Gomez, Martinez, Griffiths, Fraser, and Wilson.
Yep, I'm back now. But yeah, you just saw the top 3 there, which was Carr, Lopez, and Gal. So what did you make of that session overall, Raul?
Yeah, pretty interesting session with Sontag getting into Q2 and also with Kirby getting into Q2. Impressive from him. And Fraser a little bit disappointed with himself in P21, but it is what it is. And it's the race is tomorrow, and it's the important one.
Indeed, as I'm just going to grab a photo now for Twitter just to confirm what we had in Q2. So I'll try my best not to stay silent. But in the meantime, guys, whilst we wait for Q2 to get on the way and for Yuri to sort out what he needs to sort out, really, let us know your prediction on who you think will get knocked out in Q2. I'll obviously ask your prediction a little bit later on, when we get onto the loading screen, of course. But for the meantime, guys, let us know who you think will get knocked out in Q2. And so let me just put this up. After 18 minutes, of course, it is our car fastest. Berry, Gomez, Martinez, Griffiths, Fraser, and Wilson. And there we go. That's the tweet sent out. So now we just got to wait for Q2 to get underway, which will get underway quite soon. So as I'm just retweeting some stuff now on the Twitter. So yeah, that's that really, as we now wait for Q2 to get underway. And I'll read your predictions out, guys, once we're in the loading screen, of course, and when Q2 is about to get underway. So yeah, as we'll wait and see. As of course, for anybody who's just joined us, the people who got knocked out in Q1, just to remind you of Aderi, Gomez, Martinez, Griffiths, Fraser, and Wilson. So they were the bottom six. And surprisingly enough, Dudu Kirby and Felix Sontag making it through into Q2 for both Haas and Williams, respectively. Of course, 3 teams are still yet to score a point this season: Williams, Manor, and Haas. And could this round be it where we get one of them to score a point? Who knows, really? We honestly thought that Monaco could have been their best chance, and neither one of them got a point in that race. So, of course, both Williamses crashed out, of course, you may remember. The Haases didn't really have the pace to get some points, and nor did the Manners, quite frankly. I think Rosetta Martinez, if I'm not mistaken, did catch up to some bad luck in that race 2 weeks ago, but still managed to finish the race nonetheless. So it will be interesting to see if any one of them get points this week, or whether we have to wait a little bit longer for any of them to score points. Will any of them even score points this season? That remains a question. There's still plenty of time for them to do that, but not got all the time in the world. Let's put it that way. But that's that really, as we wait for Q2 to get underway quite soon. And of course, just a reminder as well that Formula E will be back this Thursday as well. Of course, that will be the debut for Mirren as a host for GP4 OC. So obviously, we wish him the best of luck in his first GP4 OC stream. But we've got the stream back underway. We've got the screen up, and we are getting ready for Q2 to get underway. Now it's on your screen, so let's get going with it. So I'm going to ask your prediction, Ra. Who do you think will get knocked out in Q2?
I mean, it'll be Kirby, Sontag, I would say both Ferraris, Renault, and the McLaren.
Okay, I'm going to say Kirby and Sontag. I'm going to say one Ferrari, sadly a McLaren, Alpha Tauri, and I'm going to say a Renault as well. But we will see. And of course, just a reminder, guys, the loading screen here at Baku is quite a lengthy one. It is the longest one on Grand Prix 4, so do be patient. It will load. It doesn't mean the game is crashed. But in the meantime, I'll read to you other predictions that we have. Dennis has said that Kirby, Sontag, a Renault, both Ferraris, and a McLaren will get eliminated. And Von Chanek Shane has said Sontag, Kirby, both Alpha Tauris, a McLaren, and a Ferrari will get eliminated. So we will wait and see what happens in this session. Could we have a surprise? Who knows, really? As we wait for the loading bar to move, as the game still decides to load up the textures at this point in time, because of course Baku does have a lot of textures it needs to load up, but eventually we have got there in time, guys. And here we are then in the garage, and we are getting set for Q2 to get underway. And we are in the cockpit right now of Felix Sontag, and we're going to see who's going to be the first to get out onto the track for Q2. And so let's see what is going to happen then in this session as we wait for the first movement to happen. as this 15-minute session has got underway. And just trying to look on the minimap to see if there's any movements elsewhere. There is. It's a Racing Point that's going out first. And it's George Roke this time, not Roland Motrin like we saw in the previous session. It's George Roke who's the first out on the track for Q2. So he's going to be out on track first as he just makes his way out of the pit lane now then. Out on the racetrack now then goes George Roke as he'll now make his way towards turn 2. Using a little bit of curb on the outside there then. As a few more cars also filter out, including Juju Kirby and Laura Chung. As now Roke makes his way towards turns 3 and then into turn 4. And he will be soon starting his first lap of Q2. Of course, Roke was the stronger of the two Racing Points in that last session in the end, managing to get that quick time right at the end of the session. Whether he can keep that up, though, in the session, we'll have to wait and see, of course. George Roke, of course, getting a victory for the team in Germany. And maybe he would like to add another victory if he can this season, if the luck presents itself. But we will see. As Roke now then approaches the castle section of the racetrack. Up the hill he goes, as a few more cars now then filter their way out on the racetrack, and I think all 16 cars are now out on the track, judging from the mini-map on the right-hand side. So yeah, all 16 cars are now out on the track, and they'll be looking to see what they can put on the board first time around, and seeing whether it's enough to get in the top 10 or whether they need to do some work for the second lap to try and improve on their lap times. As now George Roke now then is about to start his second flying lap, as he'll come up towards the final 2 turns through the left, then through the right, as he'll now come down the pit straight now then. Down the pit straight now then will come George Roke, as he'll now make his way onto the pit straight. And across the line now then will go George Roke, as he will start his second, his first flying lap of Q2 I should say. And now down towards the first corner will come the Brit now then, currently lying in 5th position, I believe, in the Drivers' Championship, if I'm not mistaken, or is it 4th? One of the two. It's either 4th or 5th he's lying in the championship. I believe it's 5th if I'm not mistaken, but I could be wrong. But anyway, as George Roke has now just started, in fact it might be 6th in fact because of Franco Gamba. I think it's 6th actually. Anyway, George Roke now then making his way down towards turn 3, using a tad bit of curb on the outside before making his way through turn 4, using a tad bit of curb on the inside there as well before approaching the turn 5 now. Then it looks like he's got a little bit of a wiggle on the apex there. He's done a similar error to what we saw from Roland Motrin, but not as deep into the corner as what we saw from Roland Motrin. So that's George Roke's first lap down the toilet, as he does a 43.353 in the first sector. And Chung doing a similar lap in the first sector there, just a tad bit quicker than Roke because of that mistake. And Kirby, in fact, down on the pair of them in the first sector that time by. So Roke now then approaches the double left-hander. Getting in for the first left-hander and then through into the second left-hander he will go before making his way down towards the near 90-degree left-hander before approaching the end of sector 2. Let's see what his sector 2 time is going to be like. 1 minute 12.842, and let's see what his final sector is going to be like, which is just a sprint to the finish essentially. And 13.0, so Roke is up on Chung that time by in the second sector, as Roke now then makes his way down the long straight before heading your way towards the pit straight. And the start-finish line, I should say. George Roke now then coming down the pit straight, and George Roke is about to cross the line. What's the benchmarker time going to be? Bearing in mind with that mistake he made early on in the lap of 1 minute 37.093. Chung now then crosses the line, slots into second, 3 tenths behind. Dudu Kirby in the Haas will now cross the line himself, and he's going to slot into 3rd position. Here comes Mikael Askau in the Red Bull. Down the pit straight he will now go. And Mikael Askau now then across the line he will now go. And where's he going to place himself? He goes fastest by nearly 6 tenths of a second, so Gal to the top of the timing sheets. Here comes Franco Gamba, his teammate. Franco Gamba across the line, he slots into 2nd place. Here comes Franco Lopez, can he go quicker than Gal? No, not quite. 11 thousandths off, he slots into 2nd place. Kirishima De Rosa across the line, he goes into 6th. Amar Kar, can he go quicker than Gal? No, he can't, he slots into 3rd position that time by, so Gal able to beat both Mercedes on that first run. Roberto Gamba goes into 8th, Joseph Willows slots into 6th position that time by, so a pretty good first lap for Willows there. P10 for Evan Byrne, as it's P9 for Q Parker, P4 for Motrin, P12 for Byrne, P13 for Chatfield. Here comes Felix Sontag, he goes into 14th, and Jake Galloway crosses the line, slots into 13th. Not a very good first run there for the two Renaults. So far, Miklos Gal at the top ahead of Lopez and Carr, but it looks like, so far, don't want to jinx anything, but so far, It's exactly the start to qualifying that Joseph Willows needed after what has been a pretty tricky qualifying session in the last few races.
Yeah, indeed. So, hopefully he's found it.
Let's see if he can keep that up there. There's still plenty of time in the session to go. But so far, it's fair to say both Renaults. I mean, where's this pace gone? I mean, we saw the pace that they delivered in practice. He hasn't really turned up in this session, unless they're holding back for something. But not a very good start for the Renault, being 12th and 13th at the moment.
Yeah, indeed. But it's not. They're not far off from Q3. But yeah, there is some time to improve. But yeah, they can all change still.
We will see as George Roque now then comes back into the pits, currently P6 behind Franco Gamba and Roland Motrin, and of course on my car, Franco Lopez and Mikolas Gal. Might as well just read the whole list there. Well done, Joe. As George Roque is right next to something that he has branded a lot in whenever he does commentary for the top class, whenever there's somebody comes into the pits in that particular pit box, the Black Hole of Calcutta, as he calls it. So, or the Hole of Calcutta, I believe he calls it. It's either the Black Hole of Calcutta or the Hole of Calcutta. I believe it's the Black Hole of Calcutta from what I researched. So, yeah, he does nickname it that because, yeah, it's kind of an odd feature, this version of Baku. And I think it's the same with the 2016 version, if I'm not mistaken, but I could be wrong. I might be
Oh, there's yellow flag.
We've got a yellow. We've actually got a yellow flag, in fact. Is that at the pit entrance?
Yep, it
Yes,
is, and
it is.
it's
Motrin
Cupok and
and
Motrin.
Cupok. Yes, so
Yeah.
we've got a crash at the pit entrance. So it looks like they weren't as fortunate as what we saw from George Roque and Joseph Wells a little bit earlier on. And it looks like Cupok was just, they were both coming into the pit at the same time. And Cupok, well, just a bit impatient, really.
Yeah, we're being patient. Luckily, Chatfield avoided that.
Indeed, so he was looking to avoid the debris there. We're going to look at it from Cupok's perspective now then. And yeah, just a tad bit impatient really, and both of them losing a wheel. But that could mean that they could get out on track a lot quicker, of course, because the pit lane is only just over there, and they can easily jump into their T cars a lot quicker. Luckily, we do have that on Grand Prix 4, which is a good thing. But here's a view from Chris Chatfield, and as you said, quite lucky not to get collected from that as well. He slowed down right at the right time for that one.
Yeah, indeed.
So yeah, our first crash of the session right there and then, as everybody now makes his way into pit lane, and so Felix Sontag now then in the pit box, and so as Dennis Kraft put it, fuck smash, in the words of Gunther Steiner. So the first crash we've had in this session is George Roque is going to be the first out on track again for the second runs of Q2. And I wonder if Motrin and Cupok were able to get out a little bit earlier or later due to them needing to get into the spare cars. We will see. So I think they're still clearing their cars at the moment because Motrin has still hasn't got the pit symbol up on his screen at the moment. As now he has, so he has been able to. They've been able to recover the car. But Roque is now out on the racetrack. As he uses a tad bit of curb on the outside there, as he'll soon be starting his second flying lap. Also on the track we have Gal and Kirby. Gal looking to extend his gap between himself and Lopez, because I think he'll know that the Mercedes might have that little bit extra to play with on their second lap, but we will wait and see. As now Roque makes his way towards the right-hander. And just looking around, just keeping an eye on the guys who need a spare car, that being Cupok and Motrin. They're still in the pit lane at the moment as we speak, as Roque just exiting out of the castle section, and now through the double left-hander he'll go, as he's currently in 6th position at the moment, so I guess sort of safe but not really fully at the moment for Roque, so maybe he needs to really improve a little bit more if he wants to get his racing point into Q3, which he should have the pace to do, but you never know. Of course, this is Grand Prix 4 at the end of the day. As Roque now then through the final 2 turns, he will go, and he'll be hoping that by the time he starts his lap there's no traffic on the exit. As Cupok is out on the track in the spare Alpha Tauri, as I'm starting to lose my voice a little bit there, so give me a moment, let me just get a drink down my throat. I don't want to sound like the lead singer of Lordi, for goodness sake. Well, there's anything wrong with Lordi. They're quite a good band, actually. Props to Finland for that band. But anyway, as George Roque now then comes out of turn 2 before making his way down the straight. Now he'll make his way down towards turn 3. In fact, why would I say lead singer of Lordy? His name is literally Mr. Lordy. Such a creative name. But anyway, as George Roke now then comes down towards turns 5 and 6. This time not making the mistake that we saw on his first lap, let's not forget, because he was a little bit wiggly on the entrance of that corner, so he might be able to get an improvement up, and he's 3 tenths up in the first sector, so a lot of time being found there for George Roke. In fact, 400s off of Gal in the first sector as he makes his way up through the castle section. He'll be hoping he doesn't get close to the back of that Renault that's in front of him. I don't think he's that close to the back of him, so I think he will be okay. That Renault being Jake Galloway in front. As Roke now then comes around the section of corners before making his way down towards the left-hander now then. Now let's see what his second sector is like compared to his personal best. And he is continuing to up it. He's nearly 4 tenths up in the second sector, 2 tenths down on Gal, so he could get himself up into around about the top 5 or top 4, but we'll wait and see what he does. And he might get a little bit of slipstream from Galloway, but not too much, as he does have that engine to compensate for that down the straight, the Mercedes engine that's powering the back of the Racing Point. Some other cars are about to start their laps there. George Roke now then coming across the line. And he goes up to 3rd, in fact, so that straight did help out. He gets himself into the top 3. Here comes Dudu Kirby. In fact, he gained a lot of time, in fact, in that 3rd sector. Here comes Dudu Kirby. He's up on his personal best. Across the line he will go, and he goes up into 15th position, still in the drop zone. Gal is not up on his personal best. He crosses the line now, then does the 2009 champion, and he remains on a 1 minute 36 with 5:03. Franco Gamba, meanwhile, is up on his personal best. And he's currently in 6th position. Let's see what the Italian can do. This looks like a very good lap for Franco Gamba. And he goes fastest by 0.8 of a second. So Franco Gamba to the top of the timing sheets of Red Bull 1-2 at the moment. Here comes Laura Chung in the Ferrari. Across the line she will now go. She's on a big improvement. And she goes up to 6th. A big improvement for her indeed. Lopez is up. Can he get himself to the top of the timing sheets? Franco Lopez, the current championship leader, across the line. And he goes fastest by 2 tenths of a second. Carr, meanwhile, is not on an improvement, surprisingly enough. He's down in 5th position at this point in time, and Carr is going to cross the line. Can he find some time in this last sector? And no, he can't. He doesn't improve, remains in 5th position. So a bit of a surprise there for Armar Carr. Roberto Gamba is on improving, and he goes into 9th position. Kirishima De Rosa slots into 6th position. A big improvement there for him. Evan Byrne, meanwhile, is on an improvement himself in the Renault. Can he get himself into the top 10 as the Renault driver now crosses the line? And no, he can't. He lost time in the last sector. Remains in 12th position. David Keepark in the AlphaTauri on an improvement, and he goes up into 11th, still outside the top 10 at the moment. Chris Chatfield, his teammate, crosses the line, and he improves but remains in 14th. So both AlphaTauris still outside the top 10 at the moment. Here comes Roland Motra, not on an improvement, down in 8th position. Across the line he goes, and he remains in 8th position. As Joseph Willows, meanwhile, a big improvement for him to go up into 6th and 7th at the moment for the two McLarens. Where has this pace come from all of a sudden for Joseph Willows? It seems like the result at Monaco might have propelled him a little bit. Who knows? Felix Sontag is on improvement. Can he surprisingly get the Williams into the top 10? No, but not that far.
Wow.
Up into 12th position. A very good lap for Felix Sontag in the Williams. That's a very big lap there for Felix Sontag. He's going to be quite happy with that one. Could that be the last laps, in fact? There might be the odd one.
Likely.
That might get one more lap in, but it all depends really, because as you can see, the lap time is a 1:36, and we've still got 2 3/4 minutes to go. So let's see if anybody goes on track one more time. But if not, if anybody goes out after 1 minute 36, after we get to the 1 minute 36, and that will be the session over for them indeed. But we will wait and see. So as Kirby wheels his car back into the garage now then, and we will wait and see if anybody else will go out on the track for one more flying lap before the session comes to a close, or whether this is actually it. We will see. But Kirby down in 16th, not ideal, but a big pat on the back for Felix Sontag in 12th position, and I bet he's definitely going to be happy about that one. Definitely taking advantage of the fact that the Mercedes engine definitely working down the straight for the Williams, that's for sure. Being up in 12th, and it looks like we will be getting one more flying lap in the form of George Roke. Will anybody else join him though? That is the question, as Roke is now coming out onto the racetrack. Roke will get one more flying lap in before the session comes to a close. And I'm just trying to keep an eye on the mini-map on the right-hand side to see if anybody else is at the pit exit. Just trying to keep an eye on the timer as well. 1 minute 40, 39, 38, 37, 36, 35. No, that's it, I think. So I think it's only going to be George Roke that's going to get one more flying lap in Q2. So there you have it then. Our bottom 6 it's secured. So Davy Cupart, Felix Sontag, Evan Byrne, Jake Galloway, Chris Chatfield, and Dudu Kirby are out in Q2. But a big pat on the back, you'd have to say, for Felix Sontag, Ra.
Yeah, indeed. Out of both Reynolds and an AlphaTauri, and even Dudu Kirby, which is expected, but out of both Reynolds and an AlphaTauri, it's a big surprise for him and for Williams. Brilliant job from him.
Disappointing, though, for AlphaTauri and Renault, though, you'd have to say, Ra.
Yeah, big disappointment for both teams, especially Renault. That's the biggest disappointment after practice as well. From 3rd to 4th to 13th to 14th. Just 3 and 4 with an extra 1 on the left.
Yep, indeed. And, well, that's going to be a lot of work to do for both Byrne and Galloway tomorrow, as they will start on row 7 for tomorrow's race. But we're now going to look back at George Roke, back to the track action that's happening. Of course, Roke will get one more flying lap in, as we mentioned, and I think he will be the only one, of course, because everybody else came out after the 1 minute 36 threshold on the timer on the top. But Roke starts his final flying lap then, round about now. So he just starts his lap now then as he makes his way down towards the first corner. And can he get himself anywhere close to the 2 Red Bulls? Let's wait and see. Maybe trying to get a little bit of practice in before we get into Q3, which he's already made it through, so no worries there. But one more person I think we need to give a pat on the back for. Joseph Willows. At long last, after many races, he's back in Q3.
Yes, I repeat, he is back in Q3.
Yep, so you can stop with the 5-letter word now, Ra.
Yes.
So anyway, so we look at George Roke, his fellow compatriot, meanwhile. Let's see what his first sector is like compared to his personal best. He was a 42.999 was his first sector, not quite a 43 there, but he's up on his personal best in the first sector, 2 tenths up. So Roke clearly still having a little bit more pace to find in that car, providing he doesn't make a mistake as he makes his way up through the castle section. Now through the left-hander now, then we'll go George Roke, using a bit of curb on the outside, as he'll now make his way towards the double left-hander. Now making his way towards the left-hander, and then we'll go Roke. Let's see if he can keep this up in the middle sector on the improvement of 12.443 he did in the middle sector.
He's up.
4 tenths up again. He's up on Lopez, in fact. So Roke has found a lot of time in that middle sector. He's now up on Lopez, so could Roke top the session before it comes to a close? And maybe give Mercedes a little bit of a worry going into Q3. Let's see. So Roke now then. Can he keep this up in this last sector? Can he go quicker than Lopez? Down the pit straight now then. Goes the German Grand Prix winner now then. George Roke now then. Down the pit straight across the line. Can he go quicker than Lopez across the line? Goes the pink Mercedes. And yes, he can by 25 thousandths of a second. And, well, in the end there then, George Roke tops the session from Franco Lopez in second and Franco Garva in third position. So I don't think we were expecting that towards the end of the session, but there you go. George Roke topping the session in the end. And our bottom 6, just to remind you, for anybody who's joined us, is Davy Cupok, Felix Sontag, Evan Byrne, Jake Galloway, Chris Chatfield, and Dudu Kirby. So what do you make of that session overall, Ra?
That was an exciting end to Q2. George Roke getting the fastest time at the end. And now even with Felix Sontag in 12th, brilliant qualifying from him.
Of course, from Joseph Willows as well, who's finally made it into Q3 for the first time in God knows how many races, but he finally got the McLaren through into Q3 after being battered by his teammates so far this season in qualifying. So I guess some relief there for the 2-time champion. Well, obviously, whilst we wait for Yuri to sort out what he needs to sort out with his Q3, let us know, guys, your prediction on who you think will take pole position. I'll ask you in a little bit for your prediction, Ra. But in the meantime, guys, let us know your prediction for who you think will take pole position for tomorrow's Azerbaijan Grand Prix. Do you think it will be a Mercedes? Do you think it'll be someone else? We will see, of course, in a little bit. So Q2 is over, and after from Franco. Out in Q1 are as follows: Cupok, Sontag, Byrne, Galloway, Chatfield, and Kirby. And that will go on your Twitters now, guys. And there you go. So that's up on the Twitter. And now we just wait for Q3 to get underway. The final 15-minute session to determine who will take pole position for tomorrow's Azerbaijan Grand Prix. 51 laps tomorrow. Should be hopefully quite an exciting race, as it always has been at Baku. So, yeah, just waiting for everything to get sorted out. And then we'll get underway for the final part of qualifying here at Baku. Of course, the GP2 races already happened, of course, because of work commitments from Flo. So it was only a one-off, guys. Don't worry, we'll be back to the normal time when GP2 returns in 2 weeks' time at Austria, when, in fact, the 2021 sign-ups for the top class open. So, exciting times ahead. So, here we go then. So we've got the stream up on your screen, guys. So, anyway, we're getting underway now then, guys. So, Ra, I'm going to ask your prediction. If it will take pole position for tomorrow's race.
A Mercedes car.
Which Mercedes? Can I ask you specifically?
Either a Mercedes or a Racing Point.
You're not going to be specific.
Nope.
Okay. Well, I'm going to. I'm going to go with Amar Car, actually. I think Car might actually do it. I'm just going to read your guys' predictions whilst we wait for the long loading screen to load up the track. In Q2, Joe, you said Q1. Did I? Sorry. He's through into I'm through into Q3 for the first time in God knows how long. But anyway, Dennis says Lopez pole position. Fonchanek says a Lopez pole position. Laura says a Merc, maybe the pink one. So she's maybe saying a Racing Point pole position. Interesting. I mean, George Roke did top at the end of Q2, but whether he can keep that up for Q3, we'll have to wait and see. The loaded bar has finally moved, and we will be in the garages round about now. So here we are then, as we get set for the final part of qualifying, as the graphics have kind of glitched out a little bit there, but they've now sorted themselves out. Because it did say briefly there that Roke was in a Renault for some reason, but he wasn't. He's in a Racing Point. We can assure you of that. It's just a typical graphics glitch that sometimes happens with Grand Prix 4, although it does seem like Yuri did a trick there with his keyboard rather than having to go to escape and then coming back onto the game to fix it, like me and Flo have had to do in the past. But anyway, here we go then. It looks like Motrin's going to be the first one out on the racetrack. The Magic Man, yes indeed. But it's in fact Carr that beats him to the post. So Amar Carr, who has been dubbed the King of Baku in the past, he's going to be the first car out on the racetrack now then. So Carr's going to be first on track, then followed by Roland Motrin, as we saw from the mechanics when we were in the cockpit of the Racing Point. So Carr is out on track, then Motrin follows him as well. And just going to keep an eye on the top left to see who's going to be the third on the track. It's going to be Miklos Gauss, the two Hungarians, second and third on the road. Then Roberto Gamba, fourth on track in the Ferrari. Fifth on track is going to be George Roke, the guy who topped Q2, of course. So he's going to be out on track fifth. Franco Lopez hasn't come out yet. He's just waiting around for a little bit. Get your words out, Joe. Well done. Then Franco Gamba is going to be sixth on track, followed by Joseph Willows, who's seventh out on the racetrack. And who's going to be eighth on the racetrack now then? We're going to keep an eye on it as Carr makes his way through the double right-hander before approaching the castle section of the racetrack now then, the narrow part of the track where Rick Yan had his crash in 2017 before he made the shocking retirement at the end of the season. Eighth on track is Franco Lopez. Then it is who was that ninth? Was that Laura Chung who was ninth? And then Kirishima De Rosa in 10th. So that's the order. Carr, thankfully, will not get any traffic on his lap, so he'll get a clean lap in, and that'll be the benchmark of time for everybody to beat, which could be quite tricky to beat, but we will see. We'll have to see what the Racing Points can do, what Lopez can do, in fact, what anybody can do, because we could get even a shock, who knows, really. But anyway, Carr now then, round the final two turns he goes, as he will start his first lap of Q3, and as Blake Moore says, an Amar Carr pole position, so that's his prediction, as it came out with quite a late prediction there. But anyway, speaking of Amar Carr, he is going to start his first final lap of Q3. He starts his lap now then as he makes his way down towards the first corner now. Then quite a short run to the first corner when you start the race, but of course you wouldn't think that given how long the straight is behind it. But anyway, into turn 2 goes Amar Carr, using a tad bit of curb on the outside there, then trying to avoid the wall as much as possible. Down the straight before heading towards Sector 4. Of course, it's quite a long run before you get to the end of Sector 1, because where the Sector 1 point is, it's where before the double right-hander, before they approach the castle section of the track. So it is quite a very long Sector 1, but we are going to get there at some point as Carr is getting close, actually, to the end of sector 1. Just needs to negotiate turns 5 and 6, and then just this little straight before getting towards where the double right-hander is, where the first sector point is. And let's see what it is. His first sector is a 42.886. Let's compare that with everybody else on the racetrack. A 43.4 for Roland Motrin in the first sector, not the best first sector for the Hungarian. A 43.1 for Miklos Gal. A 43.0 for Roberto Gamba. Went quicker than Gal, in fact, in the first sector there, did Roberto. George Roke, a 43.0 for him as well. So still just under 2 tenths behind Carr in the first sector there for some of those guys. Carr now then approaches the end of sector 2. Let's see what the end of sector 2 is going to curtail. 1 minute 12.354 for Carr, as he'll now blast his way towards the end of the lap. Of 1 minute 13.34 for Roland Motrin. So he's nearly a second off of Carr in the second sector that time by. As Lopez has not come through the first sector just yet. That may be someone to keep an eye on when it comes to Armar Carr. As meantime, Armar Carr comes down the long straight at 42.7 for Lopez, so he's quicker than Carr in the first sector. But Armar Carr, the benchmark time is a 1:36.546. Roland Motrin crosses the line and goes into second, 1.1 seconds off of Carr. Here comes Miklos Gal on the Red Bull. Cross the line, he will go. He slots into second. Roberto Gamba crosses the line. He goes second, goes quicker than Miklos Gal. A very good time for Roberto. George Rowe crosses the line. He goes second, 2 tenths off of Carr. Overall, here comes Franco Gamba in the Red Bull, making his way down the pit straight now then. And Franco Gamba, is going to cross the line. And he goes into 5th position, not the best first lap. Joseph Willows crosses the line. He goes into 6th behind Franco Gamba, gets in front of Roland Motrin, who didn't have the best first lap there. I wonder if he made a mistake. Here comes Franco Lopez, who was up on Carr in the first sector. We haven't seen what his second sector is like compared to Carr, but we're going to find out if he goes quicker. He was still up on Carr by 2 tenths, so Lopez does look very quick. Can he keep this up though? Lopez, can he go quicker than Carr? Across the line he will go, and yes he can by 3 tenths of a second. Lopez to the top of the timing sheets. Laura Chung crosses the line, goes into 5th position. Here comes Kirishima De Rosa in the McLaren. Across the line he will go, and he slots into 9th. So at the moment, Lopez top with Carr in second, but then a very interesting second row with George Roque and Roberto Gamba. Ferrari looking very strong after the first lap, Ra.
Yeah, indeed. 4th and 5th for the Ferraris, ahead of the Red Bulls and the McLarens, and even Roland Motrin. Impressive from those two.
Indeed. 8th and 9th so far for the McLarens. Whether they've got a little bit more in the taps, we'll have to wait and see. But so far, Willows currently ahead of De Rosa. Could be for the first time this season that he manages to out-qualify De Rosa this season. But we will wait and see, of course. And finally get some qualifying royalties as well for the stats, of course. Because you do get some bonuses, providing that you beat your teammate in the stats, as everybody knows. And but we will see, of course, as Carr makes his way back into the pits. And so he's back in the pits as he looks to try and see where he can find 3 attempts to try and gain pole position off of his teammate Franco Lopez. Roland Motrin, well, a dreadful first lap for him. He needs to find a lot of time in his second flying lap if he wants to get up anywhere near his teammate, who's up in 3rd position at the moment. Carr is literally the British Bottas this season. I mean, that's a kind of an interesting one, really, because he's had 4 wins this year and Lopez has had 1. So it's a bit of an interesting opinion there, Blake. I'd personally say if it weren't for Portugal and Germany, I think Carl would probably be leading the championship at this point. But as it happens, that hasn't been the case. That's why Lopez is currently in front of Carl by 13 points. And if Carr and Lopez finish 1-2 in that order like they did in Monaco and Spain, then Lopez will still lead the championship going into France next week, which is when the entrance series is scheduled to make its debut, and of course the sign-ups for that close at the end of this week. Whether it will happen or not, it all depends on whether we get enough sign-ups. So if you are new to the OC and you want to take part, then please feel free to sign up to the entrance series. It's still open, but you better be quick because it closes at the end of this week, specifically at the weekend. So bear in mind on that, and then you'll obviously have a quick announcement about the driver lineup for that. Should we have enough drivers, we will see. But anyway, Roland Motrin now then is the first car now then out on the racetrack for the second runs. Instead of Armar Carr, he's getting out there before Carr does, as he wants to try and get a clean lap and try and find over 1.4 seconds onto Lopez. I don't expect him to get close to Lopez, but he needs to find a lot of time if he wants to get up close to his teammate George Roque, who's up in 3rd position at this point in time as Motrin makes his way through into turn 4. As now Roberto Gamba comes out on track. That car waiting a little bit longer, unlike last time where he was the first out on the racetrack. Now car does go out on track, as you can see from the timing tower on the left-hand side, and also joined by George Roke as well. So 4 cars currently out on track, 6 still in the garage at this point in time. As now Motrin goes through the castle section, through the right, and then into the left-hander. Now using a tad bit of curb on the outside, and now in towards the double left-hander, as we have just over 7 minutes to go in this qualifying session to determine the grid for tomorrow's Azerbaijan Grand Prix. As Motrin now then makes his way down the hill before approaching the left-hander, and he'll be hoping there'll be no traffic by the time he gets back around, as there's only 2 cars left, and that just ironically happens to be the 2 McLarens that are left in the pit lane, Willows and De Rosa. Probably both of them looking for a clean run. Willows is out on track. Is De Rosa going to follow very soon? As Motrin makes his way down the long straight before he starts his second flying up, and De Rosa out on the track. So luckily for Motrin, he's going to get a clean lap in front, so no problems for him there. Apologies if you can hear my dogs in the background as Motrin starts his second flying lap of Q3 now then. Motrin makes his way down through turn 3 now then, and not taking any curb on the outside, as you can see there. Through into turn 2, through the left, using a lot of curb on the outside, and now making his way down the back straight before approaching turns 3 and 4. Again, a very long sector 1, and remember 43.427 was Motrin's first sector time last time by, and we need to see if he's able to improve on that, as he will soon be approaching the end of sector 1. Just needs to navigate turns 5 and 6 that he's coming up to round about now, through the left, then through the right, using a lot of curb on that inside one, I should point out. Let's see what Motrin's first sector is like, and he is up on his personal best by 0.2 of a second, a 43.184 for Motrin there, but 4 tenths off of Lopez in the first sector, nearly 5 tenths to be exact. Up through the castle section, then goes the Hungarian, through the right, then through the left hand he will go, using a lot of curb on the outside now, then through to down towards the double left-hander, through the left, and then into the second left he will go, as now making his way down towards the left-hander. Is now making his way down towards the left-hander now. Then 5 attempts up on his personal best in the second sector there, nearly 6 tenths for Roland Motrin, but still 7 tenths off of Lopez. So at the moment it looks like he's going to be around about either 5th or 6th position if he can keep this up. But then again, he does have that advantage of the Mercedes engine, so he could still squeeze into the top 4 and get behind his teammate Roke. But we will see as Roland Motrin makes his way down the pit straight, and across the line will go the Hungarian. Where is Roland Motrin going to place himself? And he goes up to 6th, so he gets himself in front of his compatriot Gal. 7th and 8th so far for the 2 Red Bulls. Here is Roberto Gamba up in 4th position. So far, not on an improvement is the Italian, as he makes his way down the pit straight now then, as Roberto Gamba is going to cross the line. Can he find a miracle in the last sector? I doubt it, but let's see. Roberto crosses the line, and he doesn't improve, remains in 4th position. Amar Kar is not on an improvement, so far he's not being able to find the 3 attempts he needs to overhaul teammate Lopez, as Kar crosses the line, and he does not improve. He remains in 2nd place. George Roke is not on an improvement. Across the line he will go, and he remains in 3rd position. Lopez is not on an improvement either, is the current pole sitter at the moment, as Franco Lopez crosses the line, and he does not improve, remains on a 1 minute 36.236. Gal, meanwhile, is on improvement. Let's see what he can do in the Red Bull. He's down in 7th. Can he get himself within the top 3? Miklos Gal crosses the line, and he can. He gets onto the front row, in fact. He splits the 2 Mercedeses. Up into 2nd place goes Miklos Gal, as Franco Gamba makes his way up into 5th. So a big improvement there for Miklos Gal, splitting the 2 Mercedeses at this point in time. Here comes Loa Chung now then, in the Ferrari. Across the line she will now go. She's currently in 7th, and she remains in 7th. Willows is up in his personal bets. Let's see what he can do. He's currently in 9th position, and he goes up to 4th. What a lap for Willows in the McLaren. P4 for Joseph Willows right there and then. His teammate Kirishima De Rosa isn't on an improvement. He crosses the line, and he remains in 10th position at this point in time. So, yeah, quite some big talking points on that lap. Gal splitting the 2 Mercedeses, and Joseph Willows, where on earth has this pace come from?
And I called this man a fraud for no reason.
Yep. And as Yuri pointed out there, dog commentary. So, in fact, to be honest, Dennis, you're not actually that far off in terms of the colour pattern of my 2 dogs. In fact, well, one of my dogs, in fact, because one of them is white and ginger. The other one happens to be white and black, and white with black patches and a ginger face, in fact. So they're both Jack Russells, by the way, for anybody wondering. So they are yappers. So anyway, we've got 2 and a bit minutes left. We might get one more person to do one more lap, maybe a couple of more. We will see. But let's see what happens then. As Otran now then is obviously in the garage now. Then whether he'll get one more flying lap, we will have to wait and see. As De Rosa now then makes his way into the pits. As George Roke now then. As he's now in the box himself, and he will now build his car back into the garage. Will we get one more flying lap from any of these guys? We will see. Just keep an eye on the 1:36 timer on the top when it reaches 1:36, and keep an eye to see if any cars go out on the racetrack. And there is, in fact, Roland Motrin going out. He's going to try and give himself one more chance to see if he can get up any higher than 9th position at this point in time. So Roland Motrin is coming out on the racetrack. So Motrin now then coming out on track now then as he makes his way out of the pit lane. As he'll now make his way towards turn 2. As anybody else join in with 10 seconds left? The last chance they've got to try and get out and improve. Motrin the only one there. 40, 39, 38, 37, 36, 35, and I think that's going to do it. So it looks like it's just going to be Roland Motrin that's going to be the only one to do a flying lap here. Everybody else is content with where they are. So Lopez, Gal, Carl, Willows, Rowe, Franco Gamba, Roberto Gamba, Chung, and De Rosa will not get another lap in. A disappointing session for De Rosa, it's fair to say, given the good qualifying he has been able to show in that McLaren. Only P10 for De Rosa in this occasion, and for the first time this season, he's been out-qualified by Joseph Willows. So finally, Willows gets one up on Kirishima De Rosa this season in the qualifying battle. So he can finally be relieved after that one, after so much criticism about his driving. So as Roland Motrin now then makes his way towards the double left-hander, as he'll soon be starting his final flying lap. His last chance he's got to try and see if he can get any higher than 9th position, with his teammate up in 5th at this point in time. So Roland Motrin now then makes his way down towards the left-hander, and I think we've got to give a huge pat on the back to Miklos Gal for splitting the 2 Mercedeses in this session. Will Roland Motrin do that? I'm not sure, but either way, it's not going to be a Mercedes front row lockout, Ra.
Yeah, he did. Well, that by Miklos Gal. The Alma car just couldn't find an answer to Franco Lopez, and he got outdone by Miklos Gal. Just
Indeed
like that.
So. Indeed so, and I think Gal will definitely be happy about that one. That at the moment, at least, he's going to be starting on the front row. It kind of all depends on what Roland Motrin can do, but at the moment, he will be starting on the front row, as Motrin has just started his final flying lap, the only one who will be doing one more flying lap.
George Roke? I think that could be George Roke out in front of him, but I'm not sure about that.
Well, I think he's a little bit far in front, so maybe he could give him a slipstream advantage down the straight if it does get close, but I think he's not going to be close enough to get held up by his own teammate. But anyway, Roland Motrin now then, as the checkered flag is now out to signify the end of the session, as Motrin now then makes his way towards the left and right-hander of turns 5 and 6. And using a tad bit of curb on the outside before making his way towards the double right-hander. Let's see what his first sector is like compared to his personal best. And he's down, not by much though, by 11,000. So he can still gain that back in the second sector. We will have to wait and see, of course, as Motrin now then makes his way up through the castle section, through the right, and then into the left-hander he will now go. Using a bit of curb on the outside before making his way towards the double left-hander. And he'll soon be approaching the end of Sector 2 very, very soon. Maybe just getting that tad bit of slipstream that he's getting from Roke in front. Maybe it's just an interesting tactic going on at the Racing Point camp to try and help Motrin. Let's see what his second sector is like. And he's 40 thousandths down in the second sector. And now he's coming down this long straight where the Mercedes engine could be at its best. He'll only get a tad bit of tow, though, I think, from Roke in front. But let's see if it's going to be that effective. Motrin now then making his way down the pit straight now then, as he'll soon be finishing off his final flying lap of Q3. Roland Motrin across the line, he will now go. Let's see, can he improve? Can he get himself a little bit higher than P9? No, he can't. He improves but remains in 9th position. So there you have it then. As a result of that, for the the 7th time this season, the 7th time out of 8 races, it is Franco Lopez who takes pole position for tomorrow's Azerbaijan Grand Prix. So we're now going to mute ourselves and we're going to let you enjoy the pole position lap set by Franco Lopez.
champ. Push for a higher place.
And that is how Franco Lopez took pole position for tomorrow's Azerbaijan Grand Prix. Once again, he's just been an absolute master this season in qualifying. But so far, the races have been a little bit hit and miss for Lopez this season. Can he get his second Azerbaijan Grand Prix victory in a row tomorrow? Will Amar Khan get the crown back tomorrow? Get his Azerbaijan crown back tomorrow? Or will somebody else win tomorrow? Who knows, really? But anyway, let's have a look then quickly at the top 10 to remind you. It's Franco Lopez once again on pole position with Miklos Gauss splitting the two Mercedes in second. Amar Khan in third. Jose Wells, finally a good qualifying for him in fourth, with George Roque in fifth, Franco Garber in sixth, followed by his cousin Roberto Garber in seventh, Laura Chung in eighth, the two Ferraris locking out row four, with Roland Motra in a disappointing ninth, and a disappointing 10th for Kirishima De Rosa. So what did you make of that session overall, Ra?
A really great session from, to be honest, Miklos Gal splitting the two Mercs and Joseph Vellos getting a second row spot. Fourth place for him, and out-qualifying his teammate for the first time this season, which is a miracle itself. And also, finally, he's done it.
Absolutely indeed. Well, that is it then for qualifying here for the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. A very interesting session and hopefully a very exciting race in prospect for tomorrow. Of course, we don't do the commentary for tomorrow because, of course, we let George do that for the highlights. But until then, that has been it. I hope you enjoyed it. So thank you very much for watching. I've been JW97. He's been Ra, and we will see you tomorrow at 5 p.m. GMT for the 51-lap Azerbaijan Grand Prix. Of course, the next time you'll hear us doing any commentary for practice or qualifying, it will be after the 11th team gets revealed. So very exciting times ahead for that. But until then, take care.